Okay guys, I am back. Sorry about that. I got cut off, but okay, redo of this. Welcome back guys. I am doing part 2 of debunking credit myths. So I'm just gonna jump in. This is Chelsea Lee here. I'm live from Frisco, Texas. I am a credit specialist, credit coach, and I am here to kind of give you guys some information on credit myths that you guys might have heard of. So like I said in the beginning, I want to make this super quick, but if you guys have heard about any myths on your own and you're not too sure about it, feel free to drop those in the comments, message me, but I'm super excited to kind of go over this topic. So this is part 2. So feel free to share if you get any value out of this. Or any questions, feel free to message me, let me know. But I'm just gonna go over the next set of myths that are very, very common to hear about, okay guys? So, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Can you guys see me? Let me know you can see me because I feel like it's getting dark over here. Okay, so I'm about to jump in. Okay, so first a myth out of the 5. So if you don't use your credit cards, you should close it, right? So that is a huge thing that I hear all the time, that clients are not sure, should I close this or what should I do with this specific account? And so here's what I'll tell you. Anytime, so majority of your score, 15% of your score is dictated by the age of your accounts, right? So if you were to go in and close an account that, let's say you have a credit card that maybe you don't use anymore. Typically it's gonna be retail cards that maybe you don't use anymore. And let's say you don't use this, you've had it open for 4 or 5 years, it's occurred great payment history, then all of a sudden you close the account. Well, what ends up happening is once that account closes, so does the payment history. It's as if it's never there, right? And so that will drop your score because 15% of your score is made up by the age of your accounts. So it's really important to, make sure before closing that you know what to do. Before doing that, making sure that that is going to be the best option for you. If it's a card that you're not using but you've had so much payment history with it, it's a positive account, the best thing that you could do is, use that card every quarter. Like, use it at least one time every quarter, so every 3 months, have a balance on it, show that you're using it, even leaving a small balance like $5-10 on the card, that's gonna help too, just so that your account never goes inactive and then they close it, okay? So I hope that makes sense. We're gonna move on to the second myth. So the second one is opening credit cards will hurt your score. So this one is a funny one because a lot of us, I know in school, in particular, I remember being told like, don't ever get credit cards. Credit cards are such a bad idea. So there's a lot of misconception about credit cards, okay? So if you open a credit card, initially it will, I would say, hurt the score because it's a new account, but it's only temporary. Once you start to use the credit card, you're managing your credit card well, you're not, going over the limit, maxing out the credit card, and you're not late, obviously, yes, it's gonna help build your score, okay? So it's only temporary. When it first comes on your report, you initially, just got the card, it will temporarily hurt the score, but as that first payment history comes on, that first, okay on the credit bureaus, that's gonna help build your score. So as long as you are managing your cards well, as long as you are keeping everything on time, you're gonna be good to go. Credit cards are strategically made to help you build your score. If you look at a credit card as, this is my emergency, you know what I mean? Like, this is my emergency if something happens, that's a healthy way to use your credit cards. You don't want to use them for shopping. I love shopping. I'm pretty sure some of you guys do too, but you don't want to use it for going out shopping, guys. So use it for emergencies and you'll be set. Third one, okay? When you get married, this is a funny one. So when you get married, your credit becomes their credit, and it's joint with your spouse, right? So there is, oh my gosh, there's so many funny stories that I've heard about this. So just because you get married, right? It does not mean that, her credit or his credit is now yours, right? So let's say that you marry someone, maybe their credit's okay, but yours is excellent. It doesn't mean that you guys come in together automatically and now those, your credit score is going to be just like theirs. That's not true. So here's why. So, and when you're married, typically what happens, most couples, obviously, for you guys to actually be joined together, like credit-wise, with your credit cards, with your loans, you would have to call in and have your spouse put on that credit card or put on that loan, if that makes sense. And now you're joined together. So there's a process when it comes to that. When you obviously buy a home, or let's say that you guys are making purchases together, that's when that account on the credit report is going to show joint. So just because you get married straight out of the gate, that does not mean that, you guys are joined together. There could be a spouse that has not the best credit. I've had couples come to me before they get married to clean up their credit because they want to be financially in the best position possible, which I think is so smart. And even spouses that get together, they end up, one of them may not be exactly where they want to be credit-wise, and so they start working towards that so that they can be on the loans with their spouse. They can be put on the credit cards with their spouse and not be getting denied. So it's very important just to remember that just because you're married does not mean straight out the gate you guys are going to be joined together. There is a process. You have to call. You have to do that whole thing of joining the accounts, okay? So I hope that kind of clears up that myth for you guys. I'm going to go to the next one. So this one is, this one's funny too, but there's a myth out there that says once your credit is bad, there is no way to rebuild. It's downhill from there. Like, you just can't come back from that. So that is a myth that is out there, and a lot of people actually really do think to themselves, man, I got into a situation, that's it, there's no hope for me. Now I gotta wait this time period out until I can, restart and build my credit again. That is not true, okay? So just because right now, let's say your score is not where you want it to be, let's say maybe you got into a medical situation, maybe you got into a financial hardship, something started to fall backwards for you, that's okay. Like, life happens to all of us. You can always come back from that. You can always rebuild, but it just comes down to a decision that you're gonna make with as far as rebuilding your credit. So what options are out there for you rebuilding your credit? There's several things you can do. I mean, sometimes it's a lack of having positive lines of credit. So maybe that's going to get a secured card to start building up some positive payment history on your credit report because there's nothing positive on the report. You could always go in to see what I do. I'm a credit specialist with my company, so I help people restore their credit. So if you're in a situation with maybe you don't know where to start, you have so much debt, whether it's medical, credit card debt, whatever it is, even repossessions, things like that. If you're dealing with something like that, I can obviously take a look at that, see what needs to be done, because there's a lot of things that you can do as far as restoring and cleaning up your credit with an audit, with having an attorney backing you up, which is what I offer with my program. So obviously, if you are a good candidate for that, that's going to help you get back on track to building up your credit, is getting some of this negative stuff removed so that you can restart again. So there's so many options out there that you can do: settling debt, paying down debt, paying down credit card debt, getting into a situation where you can start to knock off that debt on the report that's maybe holding you back. So many options. If you have questions about that, obviously you can reach out to me, but just a reminder, just because your credit is not where you want it to be right now does not mean it's over, okay? You can always recover, always rebuild, but like I said, it comes down to making a decision of wanting to get back on track. So you have to want it more than anyone else wants it, and if you do that, you can rebuild, okay? The last myth that I'm gonna go over for you guys is, once a delinquent loan or credit card is paid off, the item will be removed. Okay, I'm gonna repeat this one because this one, people think that they know this, but they don't. So the myth is, once a delinquent loan or credit card is paid off, the item will be removed. So, like for me, in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, if I pay my debt, it should be removed, right? Like that's what we all think to ourselves. If I pay my debt, and let's say it was an older debt, I paid it off, they should just take it off. They got their money. Why are they leaving it on the credit report? That's not how it works, okay guys? So legally, the creditors, the collection agencies, even the bureaus, they have 7 years from the date of last activity on a delinquent account, delinquent credit card, to have it scheduled to be removed. So 7 years. So let's say you got a negative account. Hi, Michael. Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. But if you have an account on there, and let's say that, you just got it this year, well, technically 7 years from that date of last activity is when it would be scheduled to be removed. But let's say you went and paid that debt. It's still gonna be 7 years until it's gonna be scheduled to be removed. I know that sounds so crazy, but that's just what it is. There's bankruptcies as well, certain bankruptcies that if you have that on your report as a public record, it's actually gonna be 10 years until it's scheduled to be removed. So here's the thing with this. That's why it's important, and I've said this in other videos, but that's why I said it's important to look at that date of last activity, get with someone that knows more about credit than you do, so that you know that before you go in and pay your hard-earned money, okay, and go pay these old debts, the last thing you want it to do is affect your credit, because that would defeat the whole purpose. So when you go to pay all debts, you want to make sure that that date of last activity, that 7 years that they have to report on your credit report, that's not getting updated. So you want to take a look at that first. Make sure you're doing everything possible to maximize your score and not put you behind. I could always look at that for you guys too, but that's such a huge thing, guys. So that myth is completely false. You could have, what happens is, let me tell you what happens on the credit report. Once you do pay an account, what it will happen is that it will update zero balance. It'll show paid either in full or paid then less amount, depending on if you settled that account, okay? And then that date of last activity will update on the credit report as well as of current. So yes, it will stay on there. Obviously with what I do too, when we're going through to restore credit, I have clients that had paid down so many different debts that they had that was a zero balance. They were just trying to do the right thing, pay their debt, and it ended up hurting them. So I was able to take that client on, go after those accounts to make sure that nothing was inaccurate or erroneous on those accounts, and there actually was a lot of inaccuracies with those accounts that it ended up leading to removals. So just because they say it's going to be scheduled to be there for 7 years, that does not mean it has to stay on your report for 7 years. So I hope that kind of addresses that myth for you guys. I hope that kind of brings some more information, because I know that is a huge one. That's a huge misconception that people really just are not aware of before going to pay debt. So that is it. That's my part 2 for the credit myths. If you want some more videos like this, I could put it out. These myths I think are fun to talk about, because I feel like a lot of us, even including me before I started getting into this industry, I really thought that, some of these myths were true, but coming to find out, educating myself, being surrounded by people in the industry that have been in for 15 plus years, I started to realize that that's just not true. And so I hope that this is helping you guys. Like I said, feel free to share. Feel free to comment in the comments. Feel free to message me as well if you have any questions. But I am wishing all of you the best weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend, so have a great weekend. Stay safe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.